Hello. Oh, why can't I hear you? It's really weird. Can I not hear? Can you? You can hear me though. Hold on. Give me a sec.
Can you hear me now? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, my microphone wasn't set to this microphone. I don't know why.
I was like, I think my headphones are unplugged, but they were plugged in, so that's all right.
Now his internet's magically down.
Cursed.
Florida.
Cursed.
Yeah, it's because of Florida. It's all Florida. Actually, their internet was pretty terrible when I had to live there. In that person's house. Even though they own a business and whatever. They have money. So Heaven's Decoded. Talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on. Okay.
It's a comic.
I'm gonna put the link in the comments. I'm gonna sneeze. There we go. We're on YouTube and my Facebook and Sierra Nova. So, okay, I'm here. Okay, join the link. Did you click the link? Did you click it? Did you click it? Click the link. I was gonna do
having fun.
Yeah. You ate my pie.
What the fuck? Sorry.
I'm waiting for him. Okay, I'll just send him the link again. Maybe he didn't get it, or comments. See no link. Well, I just sent you one. So.
Heaven's Decoded.
To be decoded.
Well, this is to be decoded. Thanks for ruining my energy there.
You're welcome. That's what I do.
I'm offended.
You guys are gonna be. I don't know if you're gonna be on that, but I'm doing a Kickstarter thing Saturday too because I'm too nice. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people.
Yes, you are. From all the Kickstarters,
I would limit the Kickstarters to like 5 people.
Ooh, there he is.
More than 5 people.
It's too many, or too few.
Yeah, because like I'm posting all them. And, I'm posting all the things in that one that I just did, and I forgot some because I'm like,
oh my gosh, it was a lot. I was totally gonna wear that shirt, that Mario Brothers shirt, and I was like, yeah, but I was like, no, I'm gonna opt for my Batman one. I literally had it in my hands. I was like, I'm gonna put it on. It's so I love the fact that we both have that shirt. It's so awesome.
I used to have a 1-Up shirt, but that's the only Mario thing I've had. Okay, well now that you're actually on camera, you can talk about Heaven's Decoded.
Yeah, getting some crosstalk for a reason.
Oh. I don't know why.
What's going on?
Oh, you know why there's a delay? I hear it now.
Yeah, that's that Florida internet.
That's funny. No, I'm just hearing echoes. So the stuff you guys said 30 seconds ago, I'm hearing it now.
That happened in that video yesterday with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause, like, I thought the one dude was like just being like mean, but then there's like a delay. I'm like, oh, because they're like talking, and then you're like talking, and then
I thought it was like a whole show going on. I was like,
yeah, you were like having your own show while they were talking about flatting and whatever. I was like, Oh, okay. You think like 2021, like internet would be perfect?
Perfect. Ah.
There was a delay there.
Right. So I want you guys to get me out and then bring me back in, see if that helps.
Okay, just get out of here.
I will say that if you're watching the Facebook feed, it's going to be off a lot.
Oh yeah, it does that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's going to be a delay there, so I don't know.
I don't know how YouTube is. I don't really. But I don't know. I've never watched like while it's live through StreamYard and then watch the YouTube actual feed. But
No, I'm
yeah,
pretty
it
sure
is
there's
sharing
probably a little bit of a delay.
We have like 147 subscribers.
Yeah, all 2 billion of them are watching.
Yeah. You're waiting to see what's so groundbreaking about Heaven's Decoded.
It's amazing. It's cool.
Okay. That's good.
Hello.
There's a cat that's there.
Cat
That was
tail.
really weird with her cat. Her cat just jumped on the desk. Never did that before. Jumped on the desk
Oh,
while
really?
I was about to start the Instagram thing, and then like just kept meowing. And I'm like,
I heard what you guys were saying. I think that's what it was. I was on Facebook watching the video while I was going in, and that's what that crosstalk was. So
that would do it.
So, what is your favorite award tier from Heaven's Decoded?
I agree with what Josh was saying. I think the t-shirts is the one that, and it's just because as I was doing a podcast yesterday, and the guys mentioned it's like people want swag, and I think that's so true. Like they talked about the Heaven's Decoded mask, and they talked about the t-shirt. I think it's not so much the content. I think people just want stuff, and I mean that's reasonable. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think about it going into the Kickstarter that's what people wanted. It's true. They do want the book and they're interested, but what pulls them in is people want stuff. And it sounds simplistic, but it's true.
I think your goal is going to be higher if you do 2 and 3, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But I think an item you should have, and since we're now going to plan it out enough in advance, is a 3D printed model of not only whatever the hell his name is, Gralis. Him, but you should have the ship.
The ship was a good idea too. I mean, I was actually 50-50 with both. Yeah, I was both.
You could have
I
the
like
ship.
both.
Like it would be on like a little post, but
Right.
it'd be 3D printed. So,
Mhm.
but I think that would be pretty cool.
Wait till they see the learner ship, right?
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
We came up with something really, really unique. It's not like something that you've seen before in other ships. So I think, this is kind of what I dreamed about with Heaven's Decoded. Is I wanted to like bring in new stuff. Me and Josh talked about it ad nauseum, just talking about different designs, the way people look, just the ships, the technology, the weaponry. Just I wanted to do some things that were different, not necessarily brand new, because how much stuff is actually really original these days. But
Yeah.
I wanted to give things a unique kind of twist.
There's something I mentioned when I jumped into that Indie Comics Dispatch thing last night randomly. They asked me about a comic that I'm coming out with that Josh is doing.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know if I should mention that yet. And they're like, yeah, just mention it. I was like, all right, this is the first time I'm mentioning it. Now it's going to be the second. So there's a comic that Josh is going to be doing the art for, and it's called Mittens, the Space Pilot, or Space Pilot, whatever. And it's my girlfriend's childhood cat, Mittens. So it kind of looked like the cat, but we already have like a design that he made, and it already looks. We already have like a reason for certain things too in the world. I already wrote 3 issues of that. And that actually connects to things that happen way later in our story. So I'm putting that out like way earlier just because like I want it out, and later on you'll be able to like, it won't spoil things, but it's going to, you're going to be like, oh, and it's going to connect back after. So I can't wait for that, because that's definitely next year. That's I think it's probably going to just be like solo series like next year. It's going to be like issue 1 of that, and it's going to be obviously like Chronicles of Horror again, And
you guys are doing more than one?
oh, the second one's coming out. We're actually working on it. The second one, since it's an anthology, like we just keep coming up with different stories. And this time, I actually wrote them. The first one was just Matt. We have Jason Webb as one of the writers, and he's with like Skeletal Press and JBW Entertainment. I think that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. Or JWB. And then me, I wrote 2 stories, and one of them is really hilarious, and then the other one is really messed up. And we have a reward for the really messed up story that looks like kind of like a Renaissance painting or something, because she's a painter, so it does make sense. And I think we're doing that as a reward, but it's going to end on Halloween, so just like the last one. But
I think me and you are in the same boat. We both kind of like want to move forward with our storylines. When I mentioned the 2 and 3 thing, I was just thinking about that yesterday. I didn't mean to put it out publicly. It was just an idea, but it is something that I'm thinking about because I think that the way the story is going, I feel like people are just going to want to know what's happening next. And because part 1 really was an intro, to be fair. And it's a good book, but I mean, Josh knows, people who've seen the script know that the meat of the story is actually coming up. So I don't want to make people wait for another 9-10 months for part 3 when they see part 2. So now that part 1 is going to be done, thanks to people, really contributing and
making it happen.
Yeah, making it happen. I think part 1 now, we can actually include that in the Kickstarter for part 2 and 3. I was kind of kidding about 2025, but man, this is a lot of work, man. And I gotta say one more time, thanks, Greg. You've done an awesome job. Josh, you guys have really kicked ass. I wasn't really available. For those who don't know who are watching, my mom passed away about a month ago, so it was really hectic. It was kind of crazy. A lot of stuff was happening all at the same time, and had to kind of push through. And you guys kind of pulled me and you carried me through, so I appreciate it. But this is it's a huge challenge, and I realize now, next time we do a Kickstarter, I'm going to be much more involved with the planning. I'm going to be more prepared now that I know what I've seen it now. I've been on the battlefield. I've seen the bodies fall, so now I'm like ready. I'm gonna have rewards. I'm gonna have tiers. You guys are gonna get sick of my emails. I'm gonna have stuff ready. Like from 6 months out, I'm already gonna start planning it because there was so much that went into this that I wasn't prepared for. And thank God we had Greg quarterbacking because man, I just want part 2 and 3 to come out, and I don't want people to wait for another 9 months for part 3. It's me and Greg have already started planning stuff. I got other people coming to me now wanting to work with me, and it's like I have Heaven's Decoded stories I want to get out, but I can't get them out because part 3 really is that's the beginning of everything, and I can't expose what's actually happening until part 3 comes out. So, it's as a writer, as a creator, it's kind of tough. I heard you talking on Instagram, Josh, about pre-production. These are really movies. Like we're planning out for things that are going to come out 2 years from now. Like this Heaven's Decoded stuff was done a year ago. We've been basically doing touch-ups and tweaks, but the story was done a year ago. So that's the way this has to be done. It has to be planned out, and a lot of work goes into making a comic. And thanks to Chuck and to Josh, I've learned a lot about the comic book making process. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been a hell of a ride, and I really think that it's just like anything else. Like the first time you do it is going to be rough. Like it's like making a comic book, doing the first Kickstarter. I mean, it's all a learning lesson. But now that we've really pushed through the first one, producing the first one, actually putting the book together. And the nice thing about it too is that the book was finished before the Kickstarter even started. So that's not always the case. So we definitely got ahead of ourselves, but it's totally a good thing. But the Kickstarter, we're just gonna learn from this, and because half the stuff that we've done for this Kickstarter, I had no idea we had to do. Backer goals were not something I was familiar with. The way the graphics were put in and the way the tiers work. I understood it from a consumer point of view, but I had never actually been a part of one. So I've helped out on stuff, but I've never had to actually sit down and be planning stuff out and
Right.
helping out. And so that definitely was a learning process for me. And so now that the first book is done, the first Kickstarter is really, it's hitting its stride, and we've reached our first stretch goal, on our way to our second. Hopefully, I'm really hoping.
We need 10 more, guys. 10 more. Come on through.
Oh yeah. So the part two, or if part 2 and 3 come out together, regardless, it's the meat of the story really is in the later parts. And we had part 1 done, so why not do a Kickstarter just for part 1, just so we can kind of get to know it, and figure out what we have to do. Like you said, we've been on the battlefield, I'm just so excited to be able to
Well, I want to take some pressure off of you, Josh, because I heard you on Instagram saying that you feel kind of bad because you didn't realize that it was going to be so much when you broke it. You suggested breaking it into 3. In actuality, I think I said this to you on the phone. I really do think it was the right move, and I actually am glad we did it. It's been stressful, but I think that it made me a better writer because I was able to go back into the story and say, where would this story start here? Where would it end? And then not just break it up. I had to go back and rewrite some scenes because we want to have it flow. So when you start part 2, I want people to know now part 2 is its own story. It's not going to be just a rehash or just, I went to commercial and we came back. No, it's actually another story. So it is a continuation, but it's its own story. And part 3 is the same way. So you're going to get a separate adventure, which every part that you see in this series. But I think it was the right thing to do. I don't feel bad about it at all. I think it's made it more fun, actually.
Well, that's a big thing, is that when you sit down, you write the story out, you plan it, you get all excited about it, and then you like you said, this gave you a chance to take a step back and add scenes, move scenes around, and realistically, from our side of talking about it, from what I hear about part 2, it's part 2 is going to be way better than what it could have been.
It's incredible. In fact, you're right. Yeah. It's true. That's something that I want to mention too, is that because we did break it up, it allowed me to go back and look at the stories in a different light. In other words, if I'm going to give people 34 pages of part 2 or 36, or I'm going to make Josh fall down, it's going to be 42 pages. All right, Josh, I'm just kidding. Caleb is hitting me with
700, 2,000.
Well, Caleb is hitting me with ideas, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to add some pages. That's a really nice idea. But it allowed me to look at the stories completely differently. And so, I want to give people actually a brand new adventure. I want to give them a really good story of part 2, not just, hey, we broke up the story into 3 parts and here you go. We're going to dish it out every 9 months. I actually was able to step back and look at the story and say, what will make this a better story? And I can pay attention to these 34 pages and not an 80-page book as a whole. That was overwhelming, but able to break the story into 3 parts actually was a better idea. Creatively speaking, it's going to be a better story too.
Well, yeah, it's like trying to make a 9-hour movie instead of a 3-hour movie. It's just
right.
It makes way more sense to break it up, to find your way in each segment. Well, I think that's just the heart of working on books, especially for comics and especially for Kickstarters, is that you just don't know what's going to happen, but you just kind of have to go with the flow. And this book especially was a kind of go with the flow. We're just kind of making it happen as we go.
And I think Greg could talk about this too. I think it was important for us to, I think I heard you guys mention Instagram. It's something that people can't overlook. When you're a new creator such as myself, it is important to build a fan base. So getting part 1 out there, which is a chance for people to see the characters for the first time, to kind of see the world that's happening around them. I think it was important to do that. If we had just kind of shoved the whole book out at them, yeah, people would have got the instant gratification. And I think that's what part of it is people want to know everything. And I've already seen some of the reviews that people have already made, and it's let the story develop. We're not there yet. It's part 1. But I think that this book gave us a chance to get the people to see what the characters were. We're not giving you the whole story in part 1. I'm sorry. I know people are disappointed. We're not giving you the whole thing in part 1. That's not happening. And this is a story arc. This is a development of characters, not just one, of development of 4 or 5 very interesting characters. And we're going to give them their time.
Yeah, let them settle in, and get to know these characters, not just slap it all together.
Exactly. But yeah, I think building your fan base is important, and I think that this was the right way to do it. So I don't think you should feel bad. I know you were just kidding about that, but this was the right thing. It was the right thing to do. In fact, I'm glad you actually mentioned it. So
I was writing, like I said last night. I was finishing. Well, not finishing. I'm almost done writing the second story of the video game, and I had to go through the third issue of Seer Chronicles and I have 2 versions of that script. And I was looking at the one script, and it's the older one, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of pages. And
I know that
it still has to get edited by Dylan, so he's probably gonna cut something. But in the older version, this one whole scene doesn't happen, and that's why I updated it and I added I had to change some stuff around. In the new version, it's 40 something pages. So I was like, oh, okay, he's probably going to do something about that.
Before the Instagram chat ended, one of the questions I was actually about my next question I was going to ask you guys was, are you guys planning to work on something together? And if so, is it going to be a brand new vehicle, or is it going to be something that was already Scales or Ink? Were you planning to have Josh do something like that, or is it going to be new? And then you mentioned, the Mittens the cat. Josh, do you think you're going to be doing other projects with Seer Nova, or do you have any wishes that you could work with other people on the platform, or is this just a one shot with Greg? Because the platform, Seer Nova's got a lot of people out there.
Oh yeah, I mean, as of right now, I have so many projects. Gosh, I'm probably booked until literally the end of next year. So as of for the foreseeable future, it hasn't even crossed my mind. But I know Mittens being part of one, I'm sure that once we work on that, that's going to probably lead to more, or people on the platform will see it, and I'm sure that I wouldn't mind having my hand in some of the vast projects.
How many pages is that going to be, Greg? That was the first one.
I forgot how many. I think it's 30.
Is it that many? I honestly thought it was 24 or 26.
It might be only 20 something. I'm gonna look.
Let me pull up.
But yeah, I want to tell that story just because I want it out, and it's actually really challenging how I wrote it. It challenged me because it's not there's no swearing in it. And I actually did add something, and then I mentioned to Josh that I wanted it to kind of be kid friendly ish.
Right.
And he's like, I don't think you should have that in there.
Yeah, there was. I think it was just some random act of violence that was didn't quite fit a general audience's thing, and it was like,
oh yeah, that definitely. It's not even that bad of violence, but it was still pretty violent for it's supposed to be fitting around a middle school kid could read. And
yeah, you don't want to go too nuts.
It's really hard to not swear when you usually swear in everything that you write.
Well, that was I think that is one thing that I was expecting from just the Mittens thing in general. It was I expected it to be a little harsher, and then you said you wanted to go general audiences with it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to rethink my thoughts.
That's actually a really good decision. I really do think that's a good decision because you're gonna make your audience bigger.
Yeah, I'm also going to start getting sci-fi people because
it's
it's
one of
sci-fi.
my favorite pictures, Josh. That can you really get away from your past? That picture of the
of Reggie
really escape your past. Yeah, it's one of my
walking
favorites.
toward that is in the Heaven's Decoded guidebook, and
that's right.
And if people want the guidebook, we need to hit $2,000 on the Kickstarter.
That letter is huge. I'm telling you, that letter is huge. If people really want to know, if you're asking for Easter eggs, what's going to happen in the series, later on in the series, and where this is going, that letter there will tell people a lot of things. But the people who have the guidebook are the only ones who have that letter. You're not going to get that in the comic book. You're not going to get it in the part 2 or part 3. You have to get the guidebook to see that letter. That's a letter from Annie. And she's reporting back to the United Nations about what's going on. with Prism. So
I like
if you have the guidebook, you can see it. If you don't, you will never see it.
Yeah, I actually like little things like that. Like in the first Seer Chronicles, we added a bunch of new stuff, so that actually the story like works. And
that's good.
And one of the things is there's like a letter that we added, and that connects to the story in a way. And there's like a letter, an envelope that's on a counter. And what is that?
Whose side is that on?
I'm
hearing noises.
That might have been here. Bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Down the hall.
That'll do it.
Man, this mic is really sharp. Huh?
It is.
Close the door next time.
I did check.
Close the door when you flush next time. They heard it.
I just wanted to wash my hands.
Oh, okay. He was washing his hands. My bad. Yeah, this art is man, I love this stuff. This is the good old days, right, Josh?
This was when there were no like responsibility. We were just like working on it.
we were just effing around, like, oh yeah, this would be cool. Oh, this is nice.
I think that is something. What's that, Greg?
Just the art style made me want to be like, yeah, he's definitely going to be like the guy that's going to do mittens, hopefully. And then he's like, yeah. And I'm like, sweet.
Oh yeah, no, you sent me like a couple page treatment of like a little script, and I was like, oh, I want to be a part of this. Like,
it's a 3.
You guys are a perfect match.
Yeah, the first issue is 20 pages, so
okay,
so it's shorter than normal.
Sure, I thought so,
but it's not going to be completely short because there's probably going to be like there's going to be an intro page. There's going to be a couple other things that I'll probably add in, and there's also our podcast page that we add in. Like now, all of our new comics we're going to have, like what we added in Scales. That's going to be in like other comics that we put out, so people know we actually have podcasts, and like a platform ad. So there's another thing for that. So right there, that's like 2 more pages or whatever. So.
Oh yeah, you could fill it out to if you want to do
like
a
story, but like I just didn't have anything to write for the story. But
so Ronnie, what's kind of going to your questions for me? What's your favorite character? Like now that we have a comic, like
I heard you ask that earlier.
Yeah, because I mean Reggie is definitely my favorite for a story, like character-wise.
Reggie, actually, believe it or not, he was the main character. He wasn't my favorite character from the beginning. My favorite character from the beginning was Growlithe, but Reggie did overtake him because I've been working on his character so much now in terms of developing his history and his backstory. I know it sounds crazy, but even though the story was done, his background wasn't completely formed, at least not fully with detail. And the more I got into his psyche, I'm talking about Reggie now, the more I got into his psyche, he became much more interesting. He became more 3-dimensional. He's not just a comic book character. He's actually like a person now.
He's a person.
He almost exists actually, because he's complex. He's imperfect. You know, he's not a Boy Scout. This is not Clark Kent. This is a guy who's got a lot of complexities to him, and he's a very fascinating character to me. But in the beginning, it was Growlithe. Growlithe, I think, is still fascinating to me because Growlithe has so many ways he can go, and there's things going on after part 3. I can't get into it now, but that it's going to develop. You're going to see all these characters become their own people, and they're all very interesting. And Growlithe is still very fascinating to me.
Oh yeah, no, I agree because like especially with like, hi Brett.
Hey Brett.
With like. I think part 1, we still don't quite know Reggie. You know, we kind of we're introduced to him, we get to know him a little bit, but like I think once we get into his story a bit more, that's when I think that's where he's really gonna be, I would think, more of a favorite. But I think starting off, we just don't know him well enough. So if we were to say just part 1, I would say Reggie's, you know, probably a little less interesting, but it's because we don't know yet. We haven't tapped into the good stuff yet.
Right.
Like we're just laying the groundwork. But like, it is kind of cool to see like these characters like it's funny to like. Well, I mean, you think about like Star Wars. You think where did Luke start? You know, Luke Skywalker starts just as a farm boy, and then by the end of Return of the Jedi, he's all in black fighting. You know, with a green lightsaber. Right. Like
exactly,
it's a character arc. So like,
yeah.
And so by the time you're going to get to like the third part, you are going to see big changes for all of these characters.
Yep. I think that all these characters, like you just said, are actually going to go through a development, and it's going to be interesting to see because we're going to unlock things about their personality as the story goes on. So,
exactly.
How many? Do you know how many comics you have planned after these three?
I would like to turn Heavens Decoded into, because I can't go into detail about the outcome of what's happening in this story. I can honestly say at least two. I have 2 ideas for books to spin off from Heavens Decoded. Heavens Decoded is the springboard for the universe. For people that don't know that, it is the beginning of the Cypher Comics universe. This limited series is basically just to introduce people into the universe. But yeah, I mean, I have about 2 books I want to do if I would spin off, but that's going to create a situation where I need to get staff, I need to get teams, I need to get writers, I need to get artists. I'm not going to do all this myself anymore. I can't do it.
It's too much work.
It is. I don't know how do you do this? You do inks and scales, and then you do mittens. Like, I'm going to come up with ideas, and I already have some that I've already worked on. I think you guys already know about a couple stuff that I'm working on. But I mean, creating ideas and IPs are great, but I'm not going to write every single one of these books. I'm not doing it. Can't do it.
Yeah, you could probably just be the idea guy, and then like you could make it like a platform. You could ask people on the platform, and then like, since Josh is part of the platform, he would be able to help.
I'll be the editor in chief.
Yeah, we could like do that, and then like
I'm gonna be the Stan Lee, and I'm just gonna,
Yeah, and then we could like just find people to like make those. Yeah, scales. Like I wrote the plot, but I had another guy write the actual story, and we did edit the first one a little, but like we didn't actually have to edit that much. The second one, I completely rewrote what he wrote, but I'm still paying him because he still did work. Because you should pay your artists and writers and whoever else. But I told. No, I'm saying that. Actually, I did a post. I don't think
the cat.
I don't think that's on Indie Comics Dispatch yet, but I did write a blog post about that kind of because I actually had to deal with that. Like somebody, I stole my money and like ran, which was that post that I just did like a couple days ago. That happened like 2-3 years ago. And then the opposite happened to the artist I did have before for Seer Chronicles, Ricardo. He's like, "Can you help me try to like get money from this guy?" And I'm like shaking some guy down. And he's like, "Yeah, like this dude, because he lives in Brazil and the guy lives in like California or something." He was like, never paying him. And then I was like, "Oh, if you want me to talk to him, I guess I can. I don't really want to get involved." But and he's like, "Nah, I'll just take it a loss." I'm like, "You made a whole comic book for him, and you're just not gonna like get paid for that." He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "That's messed up." So
especially when he was supposed to, like, if they made arrangements for that, like, that's that's not good.
Yeah. So you're showing Con the Prophet right now. I wanted to ask you, Josh, because we just did part 1. We haven't started part 2 yet, but what things would you like to say in your mind? Like, what do you see things that you would do differently as far as the art process, or even just pre-production wise? What would you do differently from doing part 1 after this experience? What would you see yourself doing differently?
Well, I think the big thing that, like, once we got part 1 done, it really kind of made me realize what needs focused, what needs to be focused on. And so, like, when we were doing part 1, it was such a wide realm of just, like, concepts. Because at that point, it was still just one big book. So we were like, okay, we got to do, like, all the concepts. And so, like, I was doing, a lot of concept art for stuff that wasn't even in the book, which, I mean, I'm very happy that I did it because it's like, now we have a lot of stuff to work with, and it's just really good stuff to look at. But like, I would say like trying to really double down and focus, and that's what we're, as you know, we kind of have built some Pinterest boards for the specific things that we need to be developing. And so like, I think that is like, we are already doing the different thing is like really focusing on what needs to be developed. Like what we're going to see on screen, essentially. Like as much as I would love to dive into like weird later on stuff, like now that we have part 1 done and we're moving to part 2, it's like doubling down on what we're going to see and like, and making sure that that's as best as it can be. Cause like a setting that's in part 2, it's an alien setting. We've gone all over the board with it. We've redrawn that setting like a million times. And so like, which is good though, because we are going to see it. Like that's where the characters are going to next. And then, and after part 1. And so like really making sure that we're happy with where they're at, not just like, oh, is the streetcar of this random city that we're never going to see ever. Like, is that good? Like, because there were times where I would be like, is this look okay? Like, does this look good? Or we'd be talking, and it's like really trying to focus on what. And
that did happen. The concept designs that didn't end up in the book, for those people that don't know, it's because I was joking with the guys I was on the show with last night. I did like 4 renditions of Heaven is Decoded before we got the final version. So there was so many rewrites of things that, remember, they were supposed to be something on Mars, and then I scrapped that. So
there's
there was a whole different intro. Yeah, there was a whole different intro.
I probably have them on my computer. Like I literally have like a 4-page intro that like I had concept art and like everything for it that we completely didn't even use just because like it
some
like
the
stuff. Oh yes. Nova Nation
stuff. Or tier rewards. Get stuff on the cover.
For that, yeah.
Because it is pretty cool. Like we developed like the actual habitat that like people like the Mars base would be, and like I even did floor plans for what the building would look like. Like I mean at that time I was working at a job, so I didn't have to I could have fun with stuff and like just dork around with
release
concepts.
Release the Pinot cut.
Yeah, right. Well, it's pretty nuts how different that is.
Yeah,
it's
I totally forgot about it until we were just talking about it now. It was a completely different intro. Different intro.
But I think, if anybody was wondering really what it is, it's like it's not as good as what's in part 1 now.
No.
So it's not worth like the part 1 now is like we really tapped into like what we like with like aliens or like alien, like this like spaceship kind of horror-esque thriller where it's like you don't know what's going on. Like we just lightly we kind of tap into that, and I think because originally the story didn't have that, and I think setting that scene immediately was like way more interesting than like showing people on Mars and just kind of going through their daily life and then oh no, stuff's going on. Like it was cool, but it definitely not as cool as what we see in part 1 right now.
And honestly, so we can't really, spoiler alerts, we're not going to tell people what's in the book until the Kickstarter, until they get it. But I would say that there's a sense of impending doom. And I have one regret is that I wish I could have stretched that scene out longer to kind of create that sense of doom and threat. Because I think that's what we were trying to do, is trying to create a sense of danger. And I think we did well with it, but I would have liked to have expanded it a little more and made it longer. But then page count becomes an issue, right? So we had to cut it down. But I think we did a good job with that part.
Oh yeah,
no spoiler alerts. Not telling anybody what happened. But.
Well, no, I think that's something that like you got to take into account is like if you want to make this really cool big world with lots of characters, you're going to have to make sacrifices. And if I would say there is something to be said about if your sacrifices are literally like ruining the story, then maybe you should just rewrite your story.
Right.
But the rewrites that we did here, like this is the reason why I brought this up is because I did this concept art for like this is when we decided that we wanted to show the ship and like the interior of the ship, and there's a kind of a bit of a mystery that's going on about it right at the beginning of the story. And so like the moment I got this concept art like finished out, it was like, okay, yeah, this like the first version of the story did not have this scene, and like the scene immediately feels sci-fi. It feels like intriguing. There's some mystery, like what's going on. Like there's a little bit of blood over in the corner, so it's like there is a mystery going on, and it kind of pulls you into the story. Where like the old intro just didn't. There wasn't. There, it was just kind of a action adventure, like immediately, and it just wasn't as. It wasn't as like it didn't pull you in the same way.
It felt like a TV movie. You know, remember when you were a kid, you found out there was a difference between a TV movie and a theater movie?
Mm-hmm.
The intro for the first one felt like a TV movie. This one feels like an actual movie.
It's much
like
more
the Shining TV series.
Shining.
You know that's everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
That's Stephen King's favorite. Like what?
Well, it's because it's more similar to the book.
Yeah.
Hands down, that's why.
My God. Ronnie was talking about like getting another shirt, but I don't know if to add like another shirt or something before.
So the idea is, Josh, is I have another artist who contacted me on. I like this picture, and I said, I think you could have did some promo art for the Kickstarter. I said it's 10 days left, and he goes, "Oh, there's still time to do it if you need me to do it." So I was just thinking of a poster. It's supposed to be like maybe like an Annie. His art is a little bit more risque, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. But he does like painting. Like it looks like watercolors. I don't know what he does, but he does these effects with colors. That's really amazing. I don't know. They look almost 3D, not like computer 3D graphic like Oscar style. It's more like actual watercolors. It looks amazing, but I can't.
Is she in the second issue?
Who? Annie?
Yeah.
She's in every issue.
All right. So if you want to get that done, but like maybe that would already be a reward for the next Kickstarter. You already have that, and that would definitely sell because the geek people are though that sells on Kickstarter. All of that like kind of risque kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I won't be able to pay him. He's kind of expensive, so I'd have to wait for the Kickstarter to pay him.
Yeah.
So it'll have to wait for the Kickstarter for part 2 and 3 because I think he was willing to do it. I think he wants the exposure. I don't think 9 days is bad. It's just that, like you said, we already have enough T-shirts, and I really can't think of another reason to make him do that art except for a poster or a trading card. I don't know, but we don't want to.
There's already like 3-4 posters, so it's like And I get what the guys from yesterday. He likes shirts and stuff, but if you add another shirt, then like that, you would definitely have to like just price it out, and you could make another shirt. It's just like that's another thing I got to do.
Well, like
don't
you said,
give Greg work.
Right, and I know you're right because the other thing too is it would be a small count. It would be like 5 shirts.
Yeah, like if you make the shirt and then you waste your time because nobody picks the shirt within the 9 days, then all right.
Okay, I got 5 free shirts.
It's
a weird gamble, Kickstarter.
Yeah,
it's yeah.
I didn't think all 10 were gonna like. I had no Kickstarter. I really don't think I had a Kickstarter that people got all of them. Very close. Like Chronicles of Horror, I think I limited it to like 5 or something, and like 4 of the 5 got the shirt. I'm like, okay, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. Then that our shirt. I mean, like, shoot, I feel like a handful of people, like friends and family of mine, all went for the shirt, and I was like, okay,
and like in the top one of the top tier at the time. There will be a different top tier if like we get 100 backers. That was like taken like that. And I was like, how did you do that?
Magic.
I don't know what to do for this last tier, man.
I would maybe like you could still do that.
What about if I just say I'll give you the first 6 pages of part 2? I give you the script. I get you a sneak peek.
For more like, well, a stretch goal would be like what we did for Chronicles of Horror was we did if we got to a certain amount, we were going to give like the second issue to everybody, but we didn't hit that amount, so we don't have to do that.
Wait, hold on, time out, Josh. How quick could you do 6 pages?
Not quick enough.
6 pages for part 2. Then we just show like a sneak preview, and if you get to this tier, you get to see these special amount of people. We'll get to see art for part 2. That's a little crumb now. That's a crumb. Okay, maybe 3 pages. How about 3 pages?
There you go. That's
if we get
6, I meant 3.
If we get 100 backers, then we could do that thing that we're talking about. But hello.
Hey, nice avatar.
Moonpress Princess Elation. Are we going to announce that?
Oh snap!
Oh boy!
Yeah.
Hey, that's a different kind of party.
Are we? Yeah, it's a different kind of party.
Wow, nice.
I had someone weird the other live that I did with some Kickstarter thing, and it was Satan was on YouTube, and they were
still jumping.
So wow, yeah. So if we hit 100 backers, there's a cool item that we are doing, and it's how the fuck do you say his name?
Gralis.
That guy.
Do you have the guidebook, Greg? We have to get him a copy of the guidebook.
Yeah, right.
I have it on my website for free.
And you have the digital PDF. I did send you the digital PDF, so you do have it.
But
it's Gralis.
Yeah, so
2 syllables, Greg. 2 effing syllables. Gralis.
yeah, Gralis.
The first syllables, you're literally the same as your name.
I don't know how to say my name. So
Well, there you go. That's a problem.
Nope.
Yeah.
What is this person? So
we need what 10 more backers?
10 more backers, and we will unlock that reward. And then, like, you know, if you want a little figure thing, maybe I can find an example, so people would be like, "What are you talking about?"
In 3 pages of part 2.
He's making promises that I can't keep.
3 pages. Come on.
Yeah, but you got those 3 pages got to be right.
Yeah, that's true. Because it's actually gonna be part of part 2.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, 1 page. Jesus.
All right, 1 panel. All right, half a drawing.
1 panel. The credits. We'll do a page of credits.
Just the credits.
So
Shit,
that character will get a little guy like this and target employee. So yeah, so that's going to be on the high tier.
How big are we making that one?
It's like it's not that
5 inches, 4 inches.
Yeah, it's
they're just little,
not that tall. But
if we can unlock that, that'd be great.
This will be what you can get. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Greg, did you break?
What is happening with the comment section on YouTube? So
who else? By the way, who else is watching there? Is this anybody from our group of people?
Apparently, I'm watching on Facebook, and the 2 people that are in the comment section on YouTube that I don't even know what's happening with that. So, yeah, if you guys want to like just say an elevator pitch for Heaven's Decoded, and then we can end it.
I'll let Josh do it. I want to see what it sounds like.
Oh Jesus! All right, I've written this down a handful of times. Oh, here, I'll just make this really easy on myself. Oh no, didn't come up.
Are we gonna do it's the 2023 one?
So what?
The 2023. It's 2023.
No. Why would I do that?
I'm just playing.
It's 2023, and
That's okay. It's fine. You can use that one.
I mean, an archaeologist is being escorted to Mars to analyze alien symbols when their ship makes a shocking discovery. So we travel the stars a little bit, going to alien worlds, and we see some really cool landscapes, really interesting aliens, and just bringing in a cool fantasy element to some sci-fi that you don't see as much. Space fantasy is definitely a thing, but I think we're bringing in some of those classic Star Wars vibes that I know we're a big fan of. But still kind of keeping it a little science, a little Star Trek, a little Mass Effect. But fans of Destiny or Mass Effect, I'm sure would love this comic.
Yeah, especially Mass Effect. My favorite thing to say is it's Indiana Jones meets Green Lantern.
You got me with that one. I remember, I think that was the pitch that you did initially for me, and I was like, I am interested.
The main character is a scientist. He's an archaeologist. He's fascinated with symbols, and symbols is a huge theme in this, even in the logo itself, and in the story itself. So I think that comes from me, actually. That's partly maybe the small thing that I entered of myself in the book, which is I've always had a fascination with symbols and art and hieroglyphs and things like that. That's why I liked Indiana Jones. That's why I like Star Trek. That's why I like Mass Effect, because I like things that talk about what other alien languages might look like, or alien symbols might look like, what they actually could mean. That always fascinated me. So
yeah.
Cool. Comics.
all languages are universal, right? Isn't that what they always say? That even if you go to another country and you don't speak the language, but if you laugh, the people understand why you're laughing. They understand you're laughing at something that's making you feel humor. Comedy is universal. Pain, sadness is universal. There are a lot of things that are universal. And I think that Heaven's Decoded, basically what it wants to do is just put a reflection on ourselves. The idea that maybe that if there's alien life out there, that they're not that much different from us. They might be different in the way they breathe, or their atmosphere, or the way they eat, the way they look. But humor, pain, sadness, grief, joy, all those things are probably out there. And so that's what fascinates me, is a universal language. And symbols are basically just a representative of language. So they're basically representations of emotion, I should say.
Well put. I like that. That's cool.
You gotta say all of that in a Comic-Con while wearing a mask, though. So.
Yeah.
Comic
Cons, that's so true. We were talking about in the stream last night that I think indie comics are gonna have a boon with Comic Cons when they come back.
Yeah, I heard that. Well, I get that, but then I heard Matt Knowles and Steph Cannon. They went to a couple. They actually went to the first one that ever opened up. I think it was last year, because it's Florida. So there you go for that. You got to wear a mask, and they have all those regulations in place and stuff, because it's not like the rest of Florida. Wear your bags. It's Florida. So
I guess the thing is, though, I'm thinking more forward, like 2022, when things really start to really open up again.
Yeah.
I think that once we get back to that state, I don't want to say normal, but when we get closer to normal, I think that indie comics, people have been sitting in their houses for months. They're dying to read stuff. I mean, Marvel and DC and Image and all that stuff is great, but people are really going to be dying to get their teeth into anything. So if all indie comics people, buying tables, we're going to do great. I can't wait to get a Heaven's Decoded stand and a table, and get a couple of guys together and split a 250 table up.
Oh yeah.
Get some cheap Motel 6 rooms and tell some great stories.
Comic-Con plan. So we just couldn't act on it last year.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna start doing that probably next year.
But you know what? I think this is actually a blessing in disguise. This gives us a chance to actually make books, not just one. If I can have part 2 and part 3 ready by that time, and then you have all your stuff, we're going there not just with one book. We're going and getting tables. We'll have 3 or 4 books out.
Yeah, we'll have all of ours, and then Josh would have his 27 books that he's got.
27 books, right?
28. 28.
I
did it right.
Did you like that? Did you like that comment, Josh, when I said you're like Prince if Prince made comics?
I mean, yeah. No,
because
I
know you're into music. I know you got that. That Prince was like, he not only was just a recording artist, he actually played like 17 instruments or something. He was like a prodigy. He was like a genius.
Oh yeah.
And I see like I see your stuff coming out constantly. I'm like, man, this guy's always working. You're like the hardest working guy in comic business. Next to Greg.
I think
Greg's working on 20 comics in his sleep right now.
His brain, yeah, you're
just constantly
writing.
Yeah, I actually feel bad when I'm like watching a show at work and I'm like, I could just be like writing right now. Like that's why I stopped watching this one show that I'm watching now. I finished Boardwalk Empire and then I started watching 6 Feet Under. And it like I started to like that show, and then I'm like, but I want to write this. So then I started writing that script, and I'm like, now I got to take a break because like my brain's fried. So now I have to go. So like today, I'm just gonna watch that.
You know what my guilty pleasure is? It's not what you guys think. As much as I love sci-fi, I can't stop watching Law and Order. I can't. Law and Order.
So
right now, there's a new one though. Law and Order: Organized Crime. Chris Meloni came back. And yeah, he's playing Elliot again, but he's got his own show. And that one, it's not like SVU. It's a lot more about organized crime and like mafia and stuff like that. And it's
that's
My
different.
God, it's so awesome, right?
Wow.
I mean, when I need to refresh and get away from writing, it's good to kind of like watch and read stuff that is not of your genre because storytelling and character development, all this stuff. I get a kick out of it. But the stories are just amazing. You can blame Law and Order for Blood Hush, by the way, in case you guys are wondering.
Okay. I also wonder where that popped up. Okay.
Yeah, definitely inspirational.
I never like wanted to watch any of those kind of shows on my own. Besides, like NCIS was the only show I watched, but it was like with my dad or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I don't watch like crime shows. But one of my favorite indie comics is a crime book. What? That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Maybe because I don't know. It's not anything like Quentin Tarantino movies, but like he's a fan of them, so I guess I don't know. Maybe that's why.
Well, maybe this is research for me, and I just don't realize it. Maybe I'm watching these shows because I'm getting ready to work on, the Blood Hush concept is what's kind of like draining my brain right now because I can't do Heaven's Decoded. I can't do anything with it. I'm stuck. I'm like in a holding pattern. Like, okay, I'm gonna do part two. I'm gonna do part two.
Last year, I think it was last year. I was watching way too much serial killer stuff, like to the point of like I'm now a serial killer. So,
you're Dexter now.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, that's too much. And anytime I'm like going over to my mom's like do laundry, and I'm like, oh, I watched this, and she's like, she's not into that at all. Yeah. I'm like, you watch Criminal Minds, like, shut up. So I'm like, oh yeah, so this dude ate this guy, and she's like, what? Wow. And I'm like, but then I learned from one of the serial killers that actually existed. He kind of did something that's kind of like my serial killer character that I'm writing. And I'm like, this motherfucker stole my idea. Like in reverse, because
he did it.
He already did it.
Yeah.
So he, I think he writes what he's going to do. No, he writes what he did to the person, but my serial killer character, that's fiction. I'm
glad you added that disclaimer.
Yeah, thank you.
I already have ideas for the Kickstarter. Like I think I told Josh, like I'm gonna do when they like start interviewing them when they're in like prison and they're like, well,
right.
What are we doing now? Unless if you're what's his name? Ted Bundy, because he like escaped like twice. I want to do like cassette recordings and stuff.
Oh wow, like the VCR tape at the bottom. Yeah, the little time marker.
Whoever want to be like the voice for the character and be like, you're now this person. Just don't actually act on anything.
Just be the character, don't do the stuff.
No method acting. Don't.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so Dylan always told me to like watch a bunch of movies and stuff to research for things that we can actually do. And I did that a lot. I actually watched Dexter too, but that wasn't the only serial killer thing I watched. I was like watching just Investigation Discovery, and I'm like, there's a lot of messed up people.
Really kind of fucks with you after a while.
Oh yeah, like I was okay watching it for a while, and then like I watched enough of it. There's a dude, he probably had nothing going on. Like he wasn't even thinking. He was at the bus stop over there, and I'm like walking inside, and then I thought he was like staring at me. He wasn't doing shit. He was like getting in a car and leaving. And I was getting paranoid, so I like ran inside and locked the door. And then she's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm just really paranoid now."
Watching too many serial killer shit. Yeah,
I'm telling you, man. You gotta slow that down.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah. So
yeah, it gets to the point where sometimes if you watch some of that stuff too much, you can't be in the house by yourself sometimes.
It's like watching too many ghost things, and then it's the middle of the night, and you're like,
What's that?
Did that lamp move, or am I just insane?
You know something? This house settles a lot at night. I don't like that. That's one thing I don't like about the new house. Yeah, it's a lot of noises.
That could be frustrating. Yeah,
very funny there, Greg. No,
that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it was
pretty good. Stay inside.
It's raining.
You think the darkness is your ally?
Thanks, Bane.
What happens in part 2?
Part 2 is full of great stuff.
Yeah. But
all right, I gotta get out of here, guys.
Yeah.
Same here.
I have to leave soon.
An hour and 1 minute. Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, we made our hour mark.
Almost one of those.
We did it. Yeah. So
we got to do this again, guys. We got 9 days left. So
you're gonna be
getting together.
I don't know if you both want to be on, but I'm doing that Sierra Nova podcast live thing Saturday.
What is that? 3:00?
Yep. There's
12 noon.
Probably so many people that are gonna try to be on that. There's a post that people just keep commenting while I'm doing this. I'll do it, and I'm like,
I thought it was 12 noon. Did it get moved to 3 or something?
Oh no, it's always 3. Just because.
Okay.
No, noon is the Nova Files thing, which is.
Oh, I want to do that one. I haven't been on it. I need to be. On
yeah, anybody can do that. That's on our platform.
Okay.
And they'll probably at some point start having guests and stuff. That's up to him. I'm not. I'm involved with too much stuff that I
know. Yeah. That's a bit much.
But and sometimes I won't be on that one because my brain will be fried if I did that. Because I did that once. I did that podcast, and then I had to do a Kickstarter thing right after, and I was rushing to invite people to it, and I was like,
wow.
Nah, I'm not gonna do that again. So anytime he wants to record, I'm not going to do that. Plus, each recording of Nova Files is usually an hour.
Okay.
So that's 2 episodes because I break it up into 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So you'll be in 2 different episodes.
Okay.
And it's a bi-weekly podcast. So.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So if you guys want to support the Kickstarter and not talk about serial killers anymore.
Look at that timing. Look at that freaking timing.
Nice.
Then you should support that by going to the link in the comments and clicking that little link.
Get us to 100 backers. Please.
Yeah, because I don't think we had one day with no backers.
I think there was one day.
There?
But it was just one day, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Gotta say.
Is the streak still going?
I think it was Monday.
Oh, okay.
I think Monday was, or one of the, it was I'm pretty sure one day we didn't have a backer, but I'd say that's pretty damn good. I am blown away by the response that we've had with this Kickstarter. Never did I expect, I figured we'd get, hit our 1,200 mark, but I sure as hell didn't expect this to be this,
it's been one day.
It's been a shock for me, actually. It's a pleasant shock.
It was one day.
But I love it. It's been great.
May 4th, May 5th.
Oh, both of those?
Going into the next day was
oh, okay.
So maybe both those days, but after that, it just kept climbing, and now we're sitting at $17.90.
I'm just pumped because I know part 2 is so much better. So I can't wait.
I'll wait.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. Was like now it's like it's kind of validating part 1 is like it's happening, and so it's like part 2 is going to be good.
Part 1 was great. Part 1 was great, but part two is better.
Yeah.
Part 2 is like the comic that people like. If it's as good as you say it is, then people should be hooked for the rest of the story.
Yeah.
The first one is like, oh, I'll try to see if this is good.
Mm-hmm.
If you make it like good enough, then people are gonna hopefully come back for the next.
And I think we did. I think that part 1 is what we wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we intended it to be.
Like Ink was really short, but Brett said that it made him want to back the Kickstarter for like the second one, and I was like, well, good, because that's what I want. I didn't want people to get the second one because the second one is like there's just world building and everything else involved with it. I can't wait. So thanks for doing this.
No problem, man.
Thanks for having us on.
Good to talk to you again, Josh. I haven't talked to you in a long time. Bro.
It's been a minute, yeah.
Only a minute.
It's been 2 minutes.
It's been 2 minutes, yeah, from Instagram, right?
If somebody wants to support my GoFundMe to get a new bed mattress,
Please, do you actually have that?
Help you find a new place in New York.
Oh my God, that's so. I like how everybody's like trying to outbid me. I'm like, this wasn't like a post to outbid me. I'm just telling you how like terrible it is to live here.
But that's just how people are.
They're like anywhere, and I'm like, oh yes, I get that, but like, I'm not putting gas in garbage bags or anything.
Nice.
Oh
I didn't see that one coming. All right, man. I'm out of here, guys.
All right. Bye.
Peace out. Come on,
Bye.
race to 100, guys. Race to 100.
Let's do it.
We can do this. We can do
Let's make
this.
it happen.